So, guys, Christian Parker has done a lot of things right this offseason, but there is one glaring hole left in this defense that nobody seems to want to talk about, and it's the inside linebacker room. A former Cowboys scout just came out and said exactly what needs to happen to fix it. And the name he dropped is something you can't ignore. And the interesting part is that Brian Shottenheimer has already gone on record saying he's literally the biggest fan alive of this star. So now the question is, why is this guy still sitting at home unsigned, and when are the Cowboys going to go sign him to help Christian Parker's defense? What's up, Cowboys? Welcome to the NFL Playbook, Cowboys. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Alright, so look, let's just get right into it, because I feel like this inside linebacker conversation is one of those things that keeps getting pushed to the side, and I honestly don't understand why. Like, we're sitting here talking about everything else going on with this team, and people keep glossing over the fact that this linebacker room is genuinely one of the thinner spots on this entire roster, and I mean that. It's not like I'm trying to be dramatic about it, but when you really sit down and think about what happens if something goes wrong at that position, it gets uncomfortable real fast. So, a former Cowboy scout and NFL analyst came out and said something that I think a lot of us have been feeling for a while now. He basically said, look, go get Bobby Wagner. And his reasoning was simple. Even if you don't use him right away, even if you want to go with your guys from day one, you have him there if something goes wrong. And guys, that is exactly the point. That is the whole argument in a nutshell. You want DeMarvion Overshown to start? Great. Nobody is saying don't start him. But you have Bobby Wagner sitting right there as your safety net, and in a position room that is genuinely thin, that safety net matters more than people are giving it credit for. And here's what makes this even more interesting to me. Brian Shottenheimer has already said out loud that he is the biggest Bobby Wagner fan. Like, he didn't whisper it, he didn't hint at it, he said it. So, you've got the head coach, the guy running this whole show, openly saying he loves Bobby Wagner, and then on top of that, you've got the connection from when Brian Shottenheimer was in Seattle with Bobby Wagner. These two guys already know each other. They've already built that relationship. So why is this taking so long? I mean, at what point does the front office just make the call and get this done? Now, I know some people are going to push back and say, okay, but Bobby Wagner is getting older, right? He's nearly 36. What are you really getting at this point in his career? And look, I get why you'd ask that, but let me just put the numbers in front of you quickly, because the numbers tell a very different story. Last year, 17 games, 162 tackles, 4.5 sacks, 2 interceptions, and not only that, his PFF grade was 76.6, which put him 10th among all 88 linebackers in the league. Guys, that's still elite production. And if you go back to 2022 through 2024, the lowest grade he had in that entire stretch was an 82.4. Like, this man has been consistently performing at a high level for years. The idea that he's just some washed-up vet you're taking a flyer on, that's just not what the data says. And you know what? I think the cap space argument also works in Dallas's favor here. Right now, the Cowboys have over $13 million in cap space, and Bobby Wagner at this stage of his career is probably going to cost somewhere around that $12 million range. So you're telling me the math works out almost perfectly, and we're still sitting here waiting? I mean, I just don't understand the hesitation. You've got the cap room, you've got the connection through Brian Shottenheimer, you've got a position room that needs depth, and you've got a guy who is still genuinely playing good football. Every single piece is lined up. Now, let me also address the people saying this hurts DeMarvion Overshown or D. Winters by taking their snaps. And honestly, I think that framing is a little off. Nobody is walking in there and telling those guys they're benched. What you're doing is adding a veteran presence who also adds some pressure, healthy pressure, on the guys who are already there to perform. And honestly, I think that's a good thing. Like, Overshown is in a contract year. He needs to perform. Having Bobby Wagner in that room doesn't hurt him. It actually motivates him. And we haven't seen Overshown stay healthy for a full season yet. So having Wagner there as a backup plan isn't a slight against anybody. It's just smart roster management. And look, the scary scenario that nobody wants to say out loud, what happens if Overshown goes down? You move D. Winters to the mic, and then who is playing the will? You're looking at Shamar James, Curtis Robinson, maybe Jay Sean Barham. But Barham was an edge rusher last year. Like, are you really comfortable throwing him into an off-ball linebacker role in a high-pressure situation mid-season? I don't think you are. And that's exactly why signing Bobby Wagner right now, before training camp, before anything else can go sideways, just makes too much sense to ignore. You don't want to be scrambling at the trade deadline, overpaying for a linebacker because you put yourself in a desperate spot. Just go get the guy now. All right, now I want to discuss something that else is going on with this Cowboys defense that I think is really exciting, and that is what people are saying about Caleb Downs. Man, I have been hearing nothing but great things coming out of camp about this kid, and honestly, it's not surprising me one bit. The word from people who've been watching him is that there is nothing about him that looks like a rookie, and I mean nothing. Like, usually when a rookie comes in, you can kind of tell there's that adjustment period. There's that learning curve where you think, okay, this guy's going to need a year to figure things out. But with Caleb Downs, that's just not what people are seeing. What really stands out to me, and honestly, this is the part that gets me fired up, is the way this guy is approaching the mental side of the game. The comparison I keep hearing is that he reminds people of Sean Lee, the type of guy who, when practice is over and everybody else is heading out, he's still in the meeting room getting ready for next session. Like, that level of obsession with football is rare. You can't coach that. Either you've got it or you don't, and Caleb Downs clearly has it. And then you pair that mentality with a Christian Parker, who is one of the most detailed intellectual defensive minds in this league right now. And I mean, guys, that combination is just about as perfect as it gets. Christian Parker is the kind of coach who is going to demand a lot mentally from his players. He's going to put complex assignments on these guys, creative coverages, different looks, and the beauty of Caleb Downs is that he seems like he can actually absorb all of that without getting overwhelmed. Like Christian Parker said himself, they're still in the early stages, kind of like freshman year. They haven't graduated yet, and that comes at the end of training camp. But even in that phase, Caleb Downs is already standing out. And you've already seen what Christian Parker can do with young talent. Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, so the track record is there. Defensive Rookie of the Year talk for Caleb Downs before training camp even starts? Honestly, I'm not even surprised to hear that. And lastly, I want to get into something that is making so much false noise these days, and that is the Brandon Sorsby situation. Now, I don't want to spend a ton of time on this, but there are actually people out here advocating the Cowboys to go after this guy. And I feel like I have to address it because it's wild to me. Look, Brandon Sorsby bet on his own games in college. That is a cardinal sin in football. Every single player in this league knows you do not do that. It doesn't matter how talented you are. It doesn't matter if you're 6'5", 235, running a 4. None of that matters when your integrity is in question like this. Think about it from a locker room perspective. You bring this guy in. Every interception, every fumble, every sack, you're going to be sitting there in the back of your mind wondering, was that on purpose? Was that intentional? And I'm sorry, but that is not something any team should have to deal with. You can never fully trust him with the ball in his hands at the most important position on the field. The NCAA fought this guy tooth and nail, the Big 12 came down hard on him, and he was still trying to force his way back in. That also tells you something about the character here. And then, people want to compare him to Patrick Mahomes? Come on, man. Some of the takes I've been seeing are just out of pocket. He is not in that conversation. This is also one of the weakest quarterback draft classes we've had in a long time, so the bar for comparison is already low. And the fact that some people are out here saying the Cowboys should give up a third-round pick in the supplemental draft for this guy, I am not even ready to give up a ninth-round pick for him. You don't bring that kind of baggage onto this team. You already had conversations about George Pickens and character issues, and then you turn around and bring in somebody who literally bet on his own games? You lose all credibility. No way. Not the Cowboys. Not this team. Not now. I am sorry. So, to wrap it all up, Christian Parker has built something real here this offseason. Caleb Downs is looking like a guy who could make an immediate impact and be in the Defensive Rookie of the Year conversation all season long. The defense overall has a lot of pieces that I feel genuinely good about. But that inside the linebacker room is still the thing keeping me up at night, and the solution is still sitting right there in free agency. So, go get Bobby Wagner, solve Christian Parker's last big problem before training camp, and let's go into this season with some real confidence at every single position. That's all I'm saying. Let me know what you think down in the comments.